Headlines. Reaction trails CBN's announcement on new Naira notes in December. Water Minister accuses states of ignoring early warnings that could have averted the impact of this year's flood. Court restricts Kogi State government from shutting down Dangote Cement. And on the foreign scene, International Energy Agency predicts peak in global emissions by 2025. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. The Central Bank of Nigeria on Wednesday announced that President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the redesign of 3 currency denominations. The announcement was made during a press briefing in Abuja. Chamun Dabeng reports.
Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele has announced that the redesigned 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes would be in circulation from December 15th. The move, according to Emefiele, is to curb excess money in circulation. The CBN governor further stated that the Apex Bank's ability to efficiently handle currency management has been affected by certain challenges.
These challenges primarily include 1. Significant hoarding of banknotes by members of the public, with statistics showing that over 85% of currency in circulation are outside the vaults of our commercial banks. To be more specific, as at the end of September 2022, available data at the CBN indicate that 2.73 trillion naira out of the 3.23 trillion naira currency in circulation was outside the vaults of commercial banks across the country and supposedly held by members of the public. Evidently, currency in circulation has more than doubled since 2015, rising from 1.46 trillion in December 2015 to 3.23 trillion as of September 2022.
According to the Apex Bank, the redesigning would help to address the insecurity bedeviling the nation, as the new notes would come with enhanced security features.
Also, in view of the prevailing level of security situation in the country, the CBN is convinced that the incidents of terrorism and kidnapping will be minimized, as access to large volume of money outside the banking system used as source of funds for ransom payments will begin to dry up.
Emefiele, who stated that existing notes would cease to be regarded as legal tender by January 31st, 2023, also noted that in line with the transition from old notes to new ones, bank charges for cash deposits have been suspended with immediate effect. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And for more perspectives on this, we have with us Uche Uwaleke, a financial economist and a professor of finance and capital market at the Nasarawa State University, KEFI, where he was at various times the head of banking and finance department, deputy director of research, as well as the director of quality assurance. You're welcome.
Thanks so much, Ibrahim. It's indeed my pleasure.
All right. So with the redesign of the Naira, certain denominations of the Naira, some people are arguing that this might take a toll on the GDP. Is it the right time to do so?
For me, I think it's an idea whose time has come. If you look at the reasons advanced by the CBN governor, for me, they are germane. He talked about currency management challenges on the part of the central bank. And of course, as you know, Section 2 of the CBN Act 2007, clearly gives the central bank that responsibility. And as a responsible organization, I don't expect the central bank to fold its arm and continue to experience the challenges that he enumerated, and namely the fact that we have so much money, circulating outside the vault of the banks. A lot of hoarding is taking place. The fact too that the central bank says it has evidence that counterfeiting currency notes, particularly the higher denominations, is going on. And add that to the what we also experience on a daily basis, the fact that you have so much of dirty notes, in circulation. So this is an opportunity to, take them in and then bring out new ones. And of course, as you said, central banks are expected to redesign their currencies, global best practice, every 5 to 8 years, but we haven't done that in the last 20 years. So I think it's something that will have positive impact on the economy. Now, talking about GDP, yes, the immediate impact, could be slowdown in GDP. We may also have a situation of, loss of jobs, what's here and there, and even a spike in the exchange rate, particularly in the parallel markets. You should expect that some people may want to take advantage of the days and will now besiege the parallel markets to offload the cash they have. So you are likely to have some of these immediate, reactions, but they are going to be short-lived. I expect that the medium to long-term effect, will be positive.
All right. Some people actually argue that, going with the argument of the CBN, that it will go a very long way in curbing ransom payment now that we're facing serious insecurity challenges. Now, could this be the magic wand to actually forestall kidnapping and kidnapping for ransom?
Yes, kidnapping, terrorism, and all such forms of insecurity, have, I would say, deeper. Their roots are deeper. But in any case, the measure being taken by the central bank to demonetize, that's the word, that's the technical term of the naira. I think it will, to some extent, help to curb that. Because just as he said, it will really dry up. It will have the effect of drying up, the sources of some of this, cash. So kidnappers and, terrorism financiers will no longer have access, or at least they will have a reduced access, to cash, because it is when this cash is available, when people hoard them and it's available, that some of these things thrive. So we should expect that going forward, ransom payments will reduce, and that will, of course, have the effect of, to some extent, I repeat, reduce the issue of kidnapping and source of money to finance, terrorism. So in essence, it's going to take out a lot of black money, from the economy.
All right. Now, there are lots. There's a very large percentage of the population that is unbanked. That means people that actually have no bank accounts, and they will be affected by this. So is there anything put in place to mitigate the hardship that they might face in this kind of situation?
Yes, I think listening to the CBN governor, I think he talked about the fact that the bank is intending to ensure that even people in the rural areas, can't transact through the banks, even without having a bank account. That you don't necessarily need to have a bank account to now use the eNaira, for example. That is the next stage, that they're getting at. But I expect that this measure will have a way of crowding in a lot of these people that are, outside the formal sector, outside the financial, inclusion space. And that's because even in the rural areas, it has been said that for you to even exchange your money, you need to also have, open a bank account. So if you're in a rural area and you have some cash you want to exchange, you need to get somebody to take you to the bank, assuming you are an illiterate person, and help open an account for you for this to happen. And by the time you have a lot of people opening accounts for the purpose of exchanging their naira, especially small businesses, micro businesses. Part of why we have this huge money circulated outside the banking vault is because of the huge informal sector. So the more they open accounts, the more, of course, they become financially included, and that will also give them opportunities to have access to financial services. That's what financial inclusion is all about. So I think this measure will contribute to improving financial inclusion.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Uche Uwaleke, for those very, very deep insights. We appreciate having you here.
You're welcome, Ibrahim.
All right. So that was Uche Uwaleke, a financial analyst there, giving us his take on the redesign of the Naira by the CBN. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has applauded the move by the Central Bank of Nigeria to redesign and reissue higher denominations of the Nigerian currency. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, at a press briefing on Wednesday, announced that the Apex Bank has obtained the approval of President Muhammadu Buhari to redesign and reissue new 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1,000 Naira notes. Reacting to the development, the executive chairman of the EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bawa, described the move by the Apex Bank as a well-considered and timely response to the challenges of currency management. He called on operators in the Nigerian financial sector, especially deposit money banks and bureau de change operators, to work within the guidelines provided by the bank to ensure the seamless withdrawal of the old currency. Bawa, however, warned that the FCC will monitor the process to ensure that unscrupulous players and currency speculators and their cohorts among the BDCs do not undermine the exercise. The Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, has blamed state governments for ignoring early warnings that could have averted the impact of this year's flooding. He made this known on Wednesday during a briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo. Adamu, who acknowledged that there is no way flood can be stopped, asserted that there was adequate information regarding the enormity of the disaster and states that would be affected, but they were ignored. He said the present administration is already working on a flood management master plan that will take at least 3 years to complete. Meanwhile, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, absolved the federal government of any blame for not providing temporary shelters for citizens in vulnerable floodplains, maintaining that it is the responsibility of state and local governments. According to him, his ministry has identified 154 places in the country that had been damaged by the recent flood. The over 600 persons have been killed and millions displaced in the last 2 months. And the federal government says Nigerians should stop spreading unverified news, but should be assured that the relevant agencies are on top of the security situation across the country. Minister of Information Lai Mohammed spoke on Wednesday while reacting to the second travel advisory issued by both US and UK governments to their citizens in the country, insisting that Nigeria is safe. He spoke on a day government officials explained to Nigerians what had been done to mitigate the massive flooding across the country. They spoke to newsmen at the State House, Abuja, after the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council. Kehinde Amodu reports.
24 hours after the Minister of Information had accused the governments of the US and the UK of spreading fake terror alerts, the US had upgraded its security advisory to a level 4, granting emergency services to its citizens. But the information minister says the advisories were not properly analyzed by Nigerians and is advising citizens both at home and abroad to stop demarcating their country.
Clickbaiting, which is you find a story which is not verified and you immediately share it, can always cause panic. But I want to reassure both citizens, non-Nigerians, Nigerians living in this country, that the security agencies are on top of this matter. Of course, the terrorists would not stop to try to embarrass or intimidate government. But what I'm saying is that this country is safe.
The federal government, it seems, is on the defensive this Wednesday and has had to defend its response to the massive flooding that has occurred across the country.
But there is no technology on earth, none, that can tell you the extent or the floods. None whatsoever. You work on the basis of data that you have before. Now that these rains have come, that is what hydrology is all about. Now that we have had this rain, this is a record. And now we are resetting the clock.
We have commenced distribution of relief materials to affected states, and the Federal Ministry of Health has been requested by my ministry to interface with the state ministries to intervene in medical-related matters.
Is in every state. We have a controller for works, we have a controller for housing in every state. So it's not in every instance that you will probably see me or the PAMSEC or the Minister of State, because the work starts from the field.
In the final analysis, despite the back and forth, what is important is what is done to mitigate the emergency that has arisen from the crisis. The cabinet members are pleading with Nigerians to join hands with government at all levels, with all NGOs and the private sector, to find a lasting solution to the problem. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
Meanwhile, Chinese national Geng Quanrong, accused of killing his Nigerian lover, Kulsum Sani Buhari, has denied charges leveled against him before a Kano High Court. Number 17, sitting at Miller Road, presided over by Justice Sanusi Ado Ma'aji. At the resumed hearing on Thursday, Kano State Attorney General Musa Abdullahi Lawal presented the court with an interpreter from the Chinese embassy in Nigeria. He said sequel to the adjournment of the trial over the absence of an interpreter, the ministry wrote to the embassy and they availed them of one. The court therefore asked the interpreter to affirm before the court to interpret from English to Chinese to the accused person. When the charges were read to him, the accused person denied the content of the charge leveled against him. The Attorney General prayed the court to adjourn the case by 2 weeks to enable them render witnesses, and on the 14th, 15th and 16th of November. Defense Counsel, led by Muhammad Balarabit Ang Azumi, however, objected. Justice Sanusi Ado Ma'aji adjourned the case to 16th, 17th and the 18th of November for further hearing. The deceased and the accused were said to have been dating before the relationship turned sour. So that's on Trust TV News Update. Still ahead, we tell you how Nigerians cope with the harsh economic conditions. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Which kind wire you gonna need to light up your light? Oh man, the quality wire. Now which kind cable you gonna need to light up your house? Oh man, the quality cable. Coleman quality. Coleman wire. Coleman durable. Coleman cable. Coleman can't. Coleman cable for any kind of project. Come and be the come and see, come and see. Come and be the Coleman won't light up your light. Come and be the come and see. Come and be the C-O-L-E-M-A-N. Quality, quality. Durable. Now come and be the Baba.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's recap our top stories. Reaction trailed Central Bank of Nigeria's announcement on new Naira notes in December. And Water Minister accuses states of ignoring early warnings that could have averted the impact of this year's flooding. And moving on to other news now. A civil society organization says refusal of hospitals to treat gunshot victims without submission of a police report is contrary to the provisions of the law. Addressing a press conference in Lagos, the Executive Director of Crime Victims Foundation, Glory Egbuji, said despite the compulsory treatment and care of victims of gunshot and accidents bill, which was passed into law in 2017, some hospitals still reject gunshot victims, leading to loss of lives. She cited examples of victims who lost their lives due to refusal by hospitals to treat them, saying life is sacred and should be treated as such.
The fact that there's already a law on the compulsory treatment of gunshot and accident victims without making the submission of police report a condition before treatment. Some Nigerian hospitals have continued to demand for police report before putting the lives of such victims at risk. In the last 18 months, Nigeria has lost some of her citizens through careless refusal of hospitals to accept the victims for treatment. While Nigerians await the amendment to the Gunshot and Accident Victims Law, we wish to call on all the other states of the Federation which are yet to domesticate the law to do so in order to prevent an escape route for hospitals and medical staff who will want to plead the non-existence of such law in the states, since the issue of health is in the concurrent list of the Constitution.
And to the economy now, where many Nigerians have expressed displeasure over the current economic situation in the country, which experts attributed to poor economic policies and a high inflation rate. The inflation rate, which has pushed the prices of commodities in the market extra high, made it difficult for some Nigerians to cope. In this report, Trust TV's Kabir Lawal takes a look at the feeding ratio of average Nigerian families and how they are coping with the economic hardship.
The ugly sight of masses toiling under excruciating economic conditions and the rate at which poverty has eaten deep into the country is not only frightening but also heartbreaking. Many Nigerians, according to observers, cannot afford 3 square meals a day. Statistics available, however, reveal that over 70 million Nigerians are unemployed and thus have taken a toll in household welfare, pushing them into poverty. The story is not different in the Federal Capital Territory, as prices of food items have gone up, making it difficult for an average Nigerian to feed.
If you enter the market right now, something you can buy before, you can buy it like 15 naira. Now they'll be telling you 300, 500 and all that. So it's very difficult for poor people to come and be buying. That is why there is crime rates everywhere. You see people stealing.
More worrisome is that some families that spoke with Trust Television News said they sometimes sent their children street hawking instead of going to school to be able to put something on the table.
No, we are on Operation 101 now. Okay, because we have one in the morning, and that one in the morning will come from 11 or 11:30. By 12, you finish it up. Then from 12 till 7:30, you take the last one, and that will take you to the next morning again. When you wake up in the morning after brushing, you go out for a hustle again till 12 o'clock again. So that's why it's Operation 101.
Food vendors also said prices of food commodities have gone up beyond the reach of the common man.
The market price is very, very high. The thing that you buy today, tomorrow when you go to the market, the price will change. Look at Gary. We buy Gary. Last week, I buy 23,000. Now, you can see that the woman that bring Gary for me now, he said it's 25,000. One bag of Gary. If you buy rice, rice, everybody like rice. If they use pipe, this rice I'm talking about now, in Nigeria, everybody like rice.
For now, things are worse. Before, things are cheap. Like this crayfish, we do buy, like penta, we do buy penta 2,000, 2,500. But now, if you didn't have 5,000, 7,800, you can't buy it.
Experts have attributed various causes of the current inflation rate in the country to import restriction, rising fuel prices, floods, among others. It is hoped that the federal government will come up with policies that can avert the current situation. Until then, life remains difficult for the masses. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
A federal high court in Abuja on Wednesday restrained the Kogi state government from shutting down Dangote Cement PLC in the Obajana area of the state. The court also stopped the state government from disrupting or suspending the activities of Dangote Coal Mines Limited and Dangote Industries Limited in Okaba, Ankpa local government area and Olamaboro local government areas. Justice Binte Nyako gave the interim order following two ex parte motions moved by counsel for the Dangote Group, Regina Okotie Ebo. The Kogi State Government and Dangote Group have a disagreement over ownership of the Obajana cement factory. On October 13th, the state government gave the cement factory at Obajana 48 hours to shut down in honor of the Kogi State Assembly, which ordered that the company be sealed until the conglomerate provides it with the requisite documents demanded by the legislature. And now for a look at the foreign scene, where the International Energy Agency said on Wednesday it believes global emissions will peak in 2025 as surge in energy prices due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine propel investments in renewables. The IEA disclosed this in its latest annual World Energy Outlook report. It said the global energy crisis triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine is causing profound and long-lasting changes that have the potential to hasten transition to a more sustainable and secure energy system. Based on the latest measures and policies announced by governments in the face of soaring energy prices, the IEA forecast global clean energy investment to rise by more than 50% from today's levels to $2 trillion per year by 2030. Global CO2 emissions are then set to fall back slowly from a high point of 37 billion tons per year to 32 billion tons by 2050. And in sports, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has reopened the bidding process for the hosting rights of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. The continent's soccer governing body has already sent a notice to member associations to express interest in hosting the competition. The member associations will also be involved in the process that will determine the host country or countries. And that wraps up Trans TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.